Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss how a former senior Tory is trying to claim that only 2 letters more are needed to force a confidence vote in Rishi Sunak in a fairly obvious attempt to destabilise his party. But how credible are his claims? And a much more important question, is he off his head? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So, under Conservative Party rules, if 15% of Conservative MPs submit a letter to the chair of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady, expressing a lack of confidence in the leader, a confidence vote has to be held. This means at the moment that 53 Tory MPs need to submit letters. Simon Clarke, the second most senior member of the Treasury when Liz Truss was crashing the pound, has made the claim that only 2 more letters are needed and Sunak will be gone. Now, he is definitely wrong in one respect and almost certainly wrong in another as well. Forcing a confidence vote does not actually oust Sunak. According to Parliament's website, there are currently 348 Conservative MPs. So for Sunak to be ousted, only 53 need to submit the letters, but then you need 175 to vote against him in that confidence vote. So the question is, would a majority of Tory MPs, more than 3 times as needed as to submit letters, would they actually vote against Sunak if that confidence vote took place? Now, I can't know for certain. It seems unlikely. The information being reported is that most Conservative MPs realise that they need another damaging leadership contest like a hole in the head. Then there was an interesting poll published in The Guardian this weekend. It shows that if the Tories replace Sunak with James Cleverly, Suella Braverman or Kemi Badenoch, the election results would be even worse than under Sunak. And as Badenoch is one of the favourites, any Tory MPs reading this poll, unless they're persuaded not to take it seriously, would be mad to risk replacing Sunak with someone who could be even worse. I mean, when they needed to get rid of Boris Johnson, they were at the point where they thought, look, pretty much anything's better than this. When they needed to get rid of Liz Truss, it was the same thing. We basically can't go wrong here. With Rishi Sunak, it's different. He's clearly failing very badly. But Tory MPs know there are worse options. Penny Mordaunt shows an improvement on Sunak on this poll, but not by very much. Probably not enough to justify the downsides of changing leader yet again, looking like complete clowns. I would imagine the only way Tory MPs would be prepared to replace Sunak is if they can be assured that the decision on the replacement's already been made behind closed doors, no fuss. The replacement can credibly claim to be an improvement. You know, this poll in The Guardian is of enormous help to Sunak. However, that is not to say that he has nothing to fear from a confidence vote. First of all, can he be sure he would win? Second, even if he does win, he loses. I mean, let's say the only Tory MPs who vote against him are the 53 who submitted the letters. That would still mean Sunak only has 295 MPs voting in favour, including himself. A massive majority of the Conservative Party, but a minority of MPs in the House of Commons. Keir Starmer would immediately say that Sunak no longer has the confidence of the House. I don't think he'd put it to the test with his own confidence vote, but he will make the claim. Labour will also point out that the reason Sunak is not getting Parliament to do very much is because his own party is not letting him. He will say that the confidence vote shows just how weak a position Sunak is in. And in reality, you know, there will be people who vote against Sunak in the anonymous confidence vote that don't want to submit letters. You know, so that'll make it even worse. Sunak would be a provably lame duck Prime Minister. That would make things way worse for the Tories. Also, by Clarke making this claim about only 2 more letters being needed, he's clearly urging a last little push to get it over with right now. He's basically saying, look, it's going to happen. You might as well be the last 2 to put them in, whatever. That would be madness, because the Tories have just launched their local election campaign. I mean, at least they've told the media about it this time. I remember last year when the Liberal Democrats launched their local election campaign, and then some journalists in the mainstream media asked the Conservatives, when are you going to hold yours? And they said, we've already done it. They just hadn't told anyone. Well, so no one noticed. But can you imagine triggering a confidence vote in the leader in the middle of an election campaign? It's utterly crazy. Of course, Simon Clarke, as chief acolyte to Liz Truss, probably is a sandwich short of a picnic, and he is facing certain defeat in the general election. Even if the polls narrowed considerably, Clarke is almost certainly losing his seat. So maybe he feels he personally has nothing to lose, and maybe there are enough other Tory MPs in the same position to reach the threshold of support for a confidence vote. But at this point, it's worth noting that Simon Clarke can't realistically know how many letters have actually been submitted. The letters are sent to Graham Brady's office, and it's not like he needs a lot of help counting confidence letters. There are people who stalk the corridor where his office is based, sure, but that doesn't help you count them. Brady can receive letters about other matters. Also, you could get a letter from an MP one day saying they don't have confidence in the leader. Then another letter from someone who's already submitted a letter saying, can you withdraw my letter, please? Unless Brady is running a very loose ship, there should be no way that any Conservative MP other than himself could, let alone Simon Clarke, could possibly know how many letters have been submitted. And given that Brady has been the chair of the 1922 committee for a very long time, Tory MPs must trust his discretion. That being said, although Clarke is obviously, well, he's probably lying about the current number of letters. I really can't see how he could know. There is good reason to suppose that maybe not many more are needed. Graham Brady recently asked for a private and secret meeting with Rishi Sunak. I'm not sure there could have been any reason for this other than to tell Sunak that the number of letters is getting a little bit close to a tipping point. Now, I can't be certain, of course, but I cannot think of any reason why there'd be a private, unscheduled meeting between the two and why it would be secret. And for those asking, oh, if it's secret, how do you know, Phil? It was secret at the time the meeting was held. People then found out and reported it afterwards. I don't have spies in the corridors of Westminster, more's the pity. But it does seem mad for Clarke to be trying to egg his colleagues onto destabilising the leadership in the middle of an election campaign. And Clarke is arguably making a big mistake in two ways here. First, he's encouraging his party to make a mistake by pursuing an action that will destabilise the party at completely the wrong time. Second, if we assume he's just batting for his particular faction, doesn't care about the party, he is inviting a sequence of events whereby Sunak's posse get to blame Clarke's group for the local election catastrophe. Now, imagine the scenario. Let's say there are only a few more letters needed. And let's say these letters go in over the Easter recess. Brady comes back after the middle of April to discover that the threshold has been reached. The procedure then, I think, is he informs Rishi Sunak privately that the threshold has been reached. Then the next day announces it, and a confidence vote is then arranged for like the next week. That might just be a week before the local and mayoral elections. So even if Sunak wins, even if he wins handsomely, it is a very unwelcome distraction for the party and risks them costing even more votes at the local elections as people go, look, these are obviously clowns. Because the fact that the confidence vote will even be taking place, even if he wins it, it's happened before. Theresa May won her confidence vote. Boris Johnson won his confidence vote. They still fell shortly afterwards. You know, a confidence vote is pretty fatal. Sunak and his allies will then be able to blame the election results, the scale of the defeat, on the right of the party. Said, look, we had it in hand, we all had this plan worked out, and then you came in mob-handed and trashed everything. Tories are always looking for others to blame, you may have noticed, and Clarke would be giving Team Sunak a way of blaming him and his group for what seems certain to be a catastrophic local and mayoral election result. They'll say it's the fault of these Tory MPs submitting these letters. Indeed, although there are some in the party, mainly on the far right, who are desperate to replace Sunak before the election, there are others arguing madly against it. One argument against it is that it helps the more extreme factions to be seen to be disagreeing with Sunak, but ultimately swinging behind him and giving the benefit of the doubt. It's a bit like they've said, look, we don't think your Rwanda bill is very good, but, you know, we'll back it anyway. Your call, you're the leader, right? We'll give you enough rope. That way, when the election is over and the results are disastrous, they can then claim, well, look, we tried to warn you. We tried to say that Sunak's brand of Marxism was going to fail, and fail it has. So nothing less than the most authoritarian free market capitalism can possibly get the party back on the road to power. and they've got all the ammunition they need. They'll be able to say, look, we were loyal Tories. We were backing him. We said he was wrong, but we backed him and he mucked it up. Can't blame us, right? So then they say, so now we need to take back over control of the party. The last thing they want is blame being thrown their way for what is to come in particularly the general election. Even though much of the Tories' troubles are down to appeasement of the very groups now complaining. If there is civil war in the party, then basically the blame gets spread around. Every faction can blame every other faction for the mess to come. Even a confidence vote, which Sunak survives, allowing him to lead the party into the election, allows his supporters to say he had a plan to turn things around for the election, but the far right screwed it up and let Labour have easy attack lines. Simon Clarke is an idiot. It's easy to see why Liz Truss made him a cabinet minister. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.